Hey guys, Verbal Engine 95, recording live from the Luck County Prison Cell. And as my second episode for Pride Month, we are going to be doing another fight that I intended to do last month and then said, screw it, I'll just wait a month. And that is Pearl from Steven Universe and Vaggie from Has Been Hotel. I have seen Steven Universe. I didn't really watch too much of the ending, but I'm, familiar with the ending of it. I have not seen Has Been Hotel or Hell of a Boss. I've just never did, just never cared, never attempted to watch it. Nothing against it, just never had any interest in doing so. So this took a lot of me looking stuff up, but I think I think it's given me a much higher appreciation for this fight, because not only are the characters very similar, I know a lot of people like Pearl versus Undyne from Undertale, but I think I like this one better. I honestly do. Plus, I didn't 1 Minute Melee did the Pearl versus Undyne. That doesn't mean I wouldn't do it. It just means, like, I think that's where some of the popularity for it came from. Anyway, not only are the characters very similar, but the shows are very similar, right? Obviously one's slightly more adult than the other, but yeah, I really think that this is probably, I dare to say, I think this is the best fight for both. So anyway, starting with Pearl. So Pearl is, I guess the species is called gems, right? Yeah, Pearl is a gem from the gem homeworld. And what that basically means is that she is literally a rock. She is a literal gem. These gems, however, have consciousness and are able to, at will, project a hard light energy to give themselves a physical body. Right? So that's kind of how their being works, right? It's that they themselves, like their sentience, it's kind of like the gem is their brain almost, and their body is running from the gem, right? But their body just happens to be made of light, hard light, but still. And like most gems, she has some pretty similar abilities. She has superhuman strength. I would say she has superhuman strength. She has, to a degree, shape-shifting, like all shape-shifting in the sense that she can form her own body. She has regeneration, which is not like, instant regeneration. It's like if her body gets badly damaged, she retreats back into her gem, and then, or, the energy retreats back into her gem, and then she kind of rebuilds the body, which takes time and effort. It can be expedited, but if a gem, hurries too much, they're liable to make their body more, I've been saying this all day and I literally can't think of the word for it. They're liable to not be as they're unstable. That's what I meant to say. Like the body becomes a little more unstable and it becomes less, useful. But yeah, and she has some other specific abilities like being able to project holograms and things like that. But her most, generally gems are their body and some sort of weapon. They also have the ability to jump, huge heights, and some of them can even fly, but they're, mostly it's, they create a body and they create a weapon, right? Now, Pearl's weapon, she's had a couple. She's had fencing sabers at her disposal. She's had spears, and she's even been able to upgrade her spear into a trident at some point, right? Her spear is capable of firing energy blasts, which have been dubbed fireballs, even though they're just kind of concussive blasts. And in addition to that, she's pretty much just she's a very tactical, very technical, attention to detail oriented fighter, right? She's very technique driven. She's very proficient, right? Doesn't waste energy or anything. And she should be, because she has literally thousands of years of experience. Now, the Gem Home War, her age is given as approximately 8,000 years. So that would have meant she would have spent, like, 5,000 years ago, she said she was talking to... I'm trying to look at the show here. She said that 5,000 years ago, she talked to Rose Quartz and did all that, and then she fought a 1,000-year war, and then she was around humanity when they hunted and gathered, so that would have brought it... Anyway, point... yeah, because she is one of the crystal gems, she actually was Rose Quartz, or Pink Diamond's pearl. Pearls are basically servant, gems. And Pearl saw more potential in her and trained her to fight, Rose saw more potential in Pearl and taught Pearl to fight, and then they overthrew the Gem World, or didn't overthrow them, but they had a renegade battle against the Gem World and took over Earth and kind of kicked them off of Earth. Now, the other thing, she has some other abilities that I might not have touched on. Like, I know she's done cloning, I know she's done certain other stuff, but that's I feel comfortable using that as the baseline for Pearl, right? Vaggie. Again, much less familiar with Vaggie, and both of these characters don't have anything, like, too crazy, so it's kind of hard for me to remember all the finer points of things. So Vaggie is... we won't start from the beginning here. She is a fallen angel, right? And what that means is she was sent to hell from heaven, and in heaven, she was, a regular angel. She was an exorcist, to be specific. And the exorcist's goal is basically to, once a year, eradicate all sinners and demons, pretty much. And, she did that. She was trained to do that, and she carried it out until one day, she didn't. She let a helpless, crying demon baby go, and for her trouble, she got stabbed in the eye and had her wings torn off, and was basically told, "You're worthless," and was given a mission to go to hell and assassinate the Princess of Hell. Long story short, blah, 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 etc., etc. Ends up as her girlfriend and bodyguard. Vaggie being an angel, however, gives her some innate properties that are going to be the basis of this fight. So the angels are incredibly durable. The angels, I wouldn't say they're incredibly durable baseline. I'd say they have superhuman durability, and they also, but the most broken part is their regeneration, right? They are capable of regenerating pretty much any injury pretty much instantaneously. It is apparently by choice. They can choose not to regenerate, but that is why it is so difficult to kill an angel. The one exception being if you are using a holy weapon, or a weapon made out of holy steel specifically. And that is what all exorcists carry, and that is what Vaggie carries. That's what she brought to hell with her. The holy weapons are not just able to kill angels and sinners by virtue of preventing any of their wounds from regenerating. But they also are just incredibly powerful weapons, being shown to be able to cut through stone and pillars and walls and, all those sort of things, right? And Vaggie is very proficient in this because she was trained, again, to kill sinners and was, did it for many, many years. But that's not just all to her. She's also a proficient, specifically a pressure point martial artist. And she's generally just a really scrappy individual. She takes a lot of punishment when she fights and keeps coming back. And that kind of enters into her, what I would call her biggest weakness, which would be her temper. She is very quick to fight pretty much anyone who confronts her, and she usually doesn't think very thoroughly when she does it. Which is actually by design. Not by design per se, but the angels all share that quality. Angels wear no armor. They wear very little armor. They carry no shields. Because why would they? They have the only weapons that are capable of killing them. And even they didn't know that for the longest time. So why would they bother protecting themselves when they can't be killed by anything? But that attitude has kind of trained her to think that she's invincible, and that has gotten the better of her in some occasions. She can also, because her wings were not cut off by a holy weapon, she can regenerate them, and she can use them to fly. So that's another factor of that ability. But going into the analysis here. So this fight's very close, and these characters are actually very similar. They have a lot of similar abilities. They have things like regeneration. They have things like being able to summon weapons out of basically midair. They both use similar weapons, where Pearl, or they both at least use a spear. Pearl uses other weapons as well, but, they both do use a spear. A few distinctions I'd like to make. Pearl, the holy weapon wouldn't stop Pearl's regeneration because she's not a sinner. A sinner in the context of I literally forgot the name of the fucking show. Has Been Hotel. Is someone who, a descendant of hell, right? Somebody who is somebody who is sent to hell and their soul is sent to hell and they are transformed as a resident of hell, right? So that's considered a sinner, and only a high-level sinner becomes a demon and then becomes not necessarily as weak to something like that. So this isn't an auto-win due to the spear. Also, like I said, angels are considered very durable to conventional weaponry, and the spear, but they are technically killable by just about they are technically harmable by just about anything. Right? Usually like knives and bottles and whatnot don't really bother them much, but, if you hit them hard enough, they can be hurt from it. And we've seen Pearl exhibit the same kind of superhuman strength that we've seen the angels, at least with her power output. Like, we've seen Pearl cut through giant pillars or, make long, giant impacts upon attacking something. So, very similar in approach here. I will say, Pearl's regeneration is fundamentally less effective than Vaggie's, because Pearl's generation isn't necessarily instant, and, if it is instant, then it's actually a detriment to her because she comes back weaker at that point. So, and plus Pearl is kind of a perfectionist, so she wouldn't, unless she absolutely had to, she probably wouldn't, regenerate quicker than she had to. For the sake of a death battle, in the fight, she would probably regenerate quicker, That being said, the only other really factors that come into play here, the only variables that, these two have with each other is Vaggie's a pressure point martial artist. Pearl doesn't have pressure points. right? Because her body's made of light. She doesn't like have a working skeletal, muscular, nervous system, right? She doesn't have pressure points. So with all of that being said, the real question comes down to there's only really two ways that one of these two would permanently put an end to each other, in my eyes, right? Either Vaggie hits the gem and shatters it, which would kill Pearl. That's the only way to kill a gem, is to, I mean, until Steven found out he could heal somebody from death, apparently, is to break their gem. And the only way for Pearl to really kill Vaggie would be to take her own weapon and kill her with it, pretty much. I mean, we've never seen an angel, like, beheaded by a conventional weapon, and do we know for a fact that would, that might kill her, but we don't know that. The only thing we know can kill an angel would be a holy weapon, and you might say, well, that's a little hacks to say that, she has to take her opponent's weapon and kill them with it. That happens more often than you'd think in Hazbin Hotel, where an angel has their weapon and is killed by it. And Vaggie's always losing her fucking spear anyway, so it doesn't, it's not like it's not something that's had a precedent before. So which of these circumstances is more likely, right? Does Vaggie hit the weak spot by coincidence that she doesn't know is the weak spot, or does Pearl decide to use her opponent's weapon instead of hers and kill her with it, which she wouldn't know would kill her with it? Both of these situations are not very likely. But I will say there is one tremendous advantage that Pearl has that Vaggie doesn't. And that's her discipline, her level-headedness. Basically, Pearl doesn't have the weakness of Vaggie's temper, right? And against an opponent who is level-headed and disciplined and proficient enough to take advantage of something like that, especially with thousands of years of experience, I think that puts the likelihood in Pearl's favor. Not to mention, Pearl has enough, even though she can't necessarily kill Vaggie with all of her extra abilities like cloning and energy projection and stuff like that. Those are abilities that are gonna annoy Vaggie and take her off of her game. Then it's also, Pearl also used to act very much like Vaggie, where when she fought for Rose Quartz, she would throw herself in harm's way constantly, just to protect Rose, because she knew she would regenerate. And Vaggie does the same thing with Charlie, which I'm definitely remembering as the main character from Hell of a Boss, or from Hazbin Hotel, right? So Pearl not only doesn't have that weakness, she also knows how to exploit that weakness, because she had to grow out of that, after Steven and everyone came along. So, yeah, I think Pearl is coincidentally incredibly equipped to eventually take out Vaggie. I think that shifts the odds of her landing the only kill shot she can land before Vaggie lands the only kill shot she can land. But again, very close fight, very good fight. And my favorite part about this fight isn't just the thematics of it. It's not just the fact that they had similar relationships in their respective shows. It's not the fact that they have similar weapons and that their shows are similar. It's mainly the fact that I know at some point, like probably in the closing section of the fight, they're both going to break out into song and fight while singing. And that means we'll get an original track by Brandon Yates, and that's what I'm most excited for. Anyway, Verbal Engine 95, see ya.